All right,
Let's go.
I appreciate that, man. What were your first impressions of Canyon when you met him?
He just really loved the business, come out of Memphis, I think around that time. When you see a guy who's got the education, like a lot of guys don't, they don't have any backup. So they jump in wrestling, and that's all they know, and that's all they do. Chris wasn't that guy. He was actually a physical therapist. With what I'm doing today and everything, it would have been a natural fit for him to come and be a part of what I'm doing today. Leap yoga, but he really he didn't last that long. With all the demons that he had going on in his head, but he had, he had the God, I think AWA or AEW would have picked him up, and
Oh yeah.
he could have done a lot of stuff and been a physical therapist for the guys and everything. There's so many different ways he could have gone. So when I see someone leave, a guaranteed job back then, or a physical therapist, is anywhere from 60, $70,000, and that's a lot of that's a lot of money back to that. So he walked away for that for $25 a match, in Memphis. And a dream, that someday want to be, on top, of course, of WWE. But when I saw him and saw like that he had the wherewithal to start coming down to the power plant, and but he was doing jobs at the beginning, just like everybody else who comes in like that. He had natural fluidity that most guys just don't. And the way he moved in the ring, he was like the reminded me of the younger version of myself if I would have been able to, you know, stay with it since I was 23. Because I tried wrestling when I was 23, it didn't work out. I had like literally like 3 months and I was done there by 8. But whenever I was in the ring, Chris, I felt like I was in the ring with a younger, better version of myself as far as his movement in the ring.
Is that why you guys had such a good chemistry, like, when you worked together? Because you always did, like, the feud where he copied you and then the Jersey Triad, any way that you guys ever were together, it was just like 2 puzzle pieces.
Yeah, it really was. It was a lot of fun too. But I originally, in the beginning, like he didn't, like he thought wrestling was going to be good enough. And in the in AEW today, up to a certain degree, a lot of guys don't have bodies. They're not in great shape. There are plenty who are as well, but
Mhm.
you don't really need it today. To get over. Back then, you did, and you had to look like you were put together. And it took me a long time to get him to realize that. I said, "Don't you're not gonna do anything like you did until you get in the fucking gym." So eventually he did. And then Eric Bischoff had this idea for this. This is before, NWO. He had this idea for these four Mortal Kombat type guys. I was the one who was the guy in charge of that and putting the guys
Mm.
together. I was like, Chris is absolutely one of these guys.
Hmm.
And Bischoff, knew who he was. And uh, he didn't have to be able to connect to the people in the interview because he just didn't have that much confidence in himself. He had a bit of a show of this, and he wasn't that good on his feet. He hadn't paid his dues enough to really be able to talk. So putting him in a mask, that's Mortis was now a guy who really you think he can do anything. And he was, known as the innovator of offense because he's the guy who came up with shit other people weren't. And it's shocking to me today that I'll be watching some NXT and I'll see some I've never seen. before, and it's still happening. I don't know how some of the things that they even create any of, but how something you think about that and you practice that. But Chris was one of the first guys to really do that. So sticking him in Mortal Kombat was a natural thing. And it was a shame because right before that was about to take off, they were going to really do something with it. So NWO, and, and Chris knew that their push just got pushed to the left, you know. So it was out there. And it was, also when they did the big hype for Glacier, and then he didn't show. That
Mhm.
was because Mortal Kombat said, no, you're not going to do that. And Dick, I can't remember what they changed so they could. But by the
Oh.
time they could, NWO was strong as shit. So that was going to get all the focus. And it was a shame because those were the guys, I put them together for Eric and oversaw that. And like I say, that Mortis character, that was a badass motherfucker.
Oh, I mean, even though that didn't go maybe didn't pan out the way it was supposed to, like, that Mortis was still over with us as kids. So, like, it worked, and then when you pulled the mask off, I wanted to know about him, and I wanted to keep going with Kanyon, so
Yeah, it's cool that he's got those multiple gimmicks he can put into the game, and the whole uh positively Canyon thing was just funny. But we got to work together, and they really should have. The Triad had all the potential in the world, but
yeah.
yeah, bookers at that time they weren't going to give. What it wasn't their idea, and they weren't going to give it the attention it should have, and that sucked, But at least we got a couple world champions out of it, and had some fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Touching on another of the, factions that Kanyon was in briefly was the Millionaires Club with our boy Lex Luger, who I just wanted to touch on for a sec, just like a plug of what you do and DDPY, and I just want to know because like I wept when I saw him stand. How does that feel? How does it feel to do that for somebody?
It's pretty cool. What? Like I was like I say, I know the story by now, but I was there the day it happened. It was so weird that when I look back to what we're doing today, and I did work with Lex very early on, um, while he was doing all the stuff at the Shepherd Center, which is the number one final place in the world, and to for him to see Butterbean's video and both of us to be at Sting's reunion.
Mhm.
I just feel like God right there. They had the God, I gotta say, like in to quote Lex, they had the God pushing us in that direction. And the thing that it was, we were going to do so much more, but the Uber driver, when Lex got to Atlanta Airport, when he got out to get the chair, he didn't hold on to the chair by it. He didn't know.
Mhm.
And this chair slid out by her and Lex took a bump up the concrete.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so that's why he would have walked, he was gonna walk like, 15 feet, to the podium. But he couldn't do it. His body was too much spasms.
Mm.
Like today he can, you know. So what our goal is, and I'm sure you've seen him walking on the boardwalk or you know, um, or on the boardwalk in different videos. That's the deck that takes it out to the beach.
Mhm.
So we been filming this whole thing the whole time. Guy, we got footage from 18 years ago. But getting him down to the beach, and I don't know if I will go live walk on the sand, but that's the goal. That's the end goal. So he was just here a couple days last week.
Mhm.
So he's one of my boys, and I'm glad I could help him.
Well, you have a penchant for making the impossible probable. So I think it's in good hands. I'm praying for him. I hope and I hope he walks on the sand, and I think he's gonna do it.
Hope so.
Thank you for all that. And you mentioning I had never really thought before you mentioned it that Kanyon probably would have been involved with you in all of this for sure with his background. I mean, like my God, that makes so much sense.
I mean, we use guys who are just physical therapist assistants.
Mhm.
Um, he would have slid right into it. We could have, it would be easy to leave it, but made him a part of this. And a lot of what he knew about rehab never really applied it. you know?
Mhm.
There's people who know, and there's people who do. And he wasn't icing his body like I was, because he thought he was going, like every young guy does, like stay going to be, you know, unstoppable. Is the best
Mhm.
word I can use. And they're not. The guys in AEW, the fucking shit they're doing. It's just, they have no idea. They have no idea. And today being 69 and insanely mobile and strong, but I'm still like, I'm still a Ferrari. I just got 998,000 miles on. And, you know, my goal is to hold on to what I have, not even get better at what I'm doing. Just hold on to it. The
Well,
only reason I can't even go big at it is because I do the work.
mhm. I mean, you had to invent it. You-
Yeah, or fucking being massive amount of pain. But I hadn't finished yet, and I was not going to let that be the thing that took it away. It's like, and in the first couple of weeks, I didn't know if that would work or not. But about the last couple of weeks, I started realizing, okay, I'm getting back on track. Give it. We really talk about that. But it was a great segue from Mortis was with the Bar Raven SWAT.
Mhm.
Because he was really like the number two guy. Raven was the number one, but he was the number two guy. So that gave him a lot of areas to be the innovator of offense.
Yeah, totally. Oh, and I mean, I want to get into it, but like your feud with Raven was awesome too. I love
It
that.
was, it bummed me out what happened with Chris. Like it bummed a lot of people out. But that, I mean, we had so much great shit
Mhm.
on the best of Nitro that we could have put on the best of Nitro, but they wouldn't let me involve, for obvious reasons. They wouldn't let me involve Chris, because the obvious.
Mhm.
But if no matter what match or whatever the fuck it was, Chris was entangled in my feud with Ray. It bummed me out that I could put this. I thought some of the friggin' my best stuff was with Raven and the Flock.
Mhm.
I mean, it was and of course Benoit as well.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was it was top of the mid card, bottom of the top card. But that was my goal, was to pull those fucking two guys up and into top guys, and then Goldberg happened.
Mhm.
Because I put the U.S. strap on rape. We were supposed to, fight for that between the three of us. And then fucking Goldberg, just took it and ran with it.
Right. Right.
Because they were more afraid of what was happening with Austin and McMahon, and we've got to build our own, you know. bald headed and fucking Prius seat. Colbert was unbelievable athlete.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't get enough credit. He does to a certain degree because of the streak and shit, but that's a work.
Mhm.
As an athlete out there, a motherfucker goes, but his shit was tight, so he didn't need to stiff Bret Hart, I'm sure.
No.
But he did, because he was stiff out there.
So like looks like we need to wrap it up for your time's sake.
So what's your last question?
What so if Kanyon were here today, how do you think he would react to being featured in this game? Was he a big gamer? And just like how do you feel about his family getting half the money?
They should. they own his likeness. But I think like these the young kids that he helped out. He knew who the Young Bucks were before anybody did.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking Brian Cage. I
Cage.
mean, there's a lot of guys. Jimmy Yang. Freaking Bischoff had this idea about a touring group of kids who were like real world meets wrestling and the behind the scenes of what these young kids. It was really kind of what Jeff and Matt and God, I can't think of his name right now. The guy who I got that remember his name. The smaller guy that would be in WCW. He would also go on to be God, what the hell's his name? He's all tatted up. He's about 5'7". He used to hang with those guys. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I can't. Yeah, I think I remember who you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
I can't remember it either right now. But I ran into the Hardy Boys at a Waffle House, and they were a bunch of kids that they were fucking just working shows, and they were all like 15, 16 years old. And they wanted to know, what's Rey Mysterio like? That was their idol, for obvious reasons, But yeah, I think, like I say, if Christian just hung in there a little longer, he would have messed right in with everybody at AEW. He would have had to, don't give a fuck if you're straight or gay. Don't give a fuck about that today.
No.
Not real people. And he would have freaking. He would have been an integral part of all of it. Because I'm sure Tony would have fucking, been a big fan of his. But just coming off the Young Bucks and as much power as they had, going in, they would have made sure that it was taken care of. So maybe he could have pulled into therapy and everything. So I think he would have been really well. We talked about it when Cody was first creating that with those guys. We talked about how anyway with a big part of this. So it's good that he's not forgotten. And all you gotta do is watch a match and realize how fucking good he was.
Oh yeah, you can see him do that. He does the buckshot lariat better than any of the guys doing it today.
Yeah, he was the benefit. All right, my friend.
Well, thank you so much.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too. Keep doing all you do. You're a great light in this world.
I appreciate that, man. But have an awesome day, okay?
You too. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Bye.